Hello, today I'm reviewing Descent of Angels by Mitchel Scanlon. Quite an interesting name, Scanlon. But this is part of the Horus Heresy series, and it's about the Dark Angels, who are kind of affectionately known as the emo Space Marines, because they're supposedly brooding over some past transgression of the chapter, which, known to a lot of 40k fans, is effectively that some of their number turned to chaos, and they're called the Fallen. And basically, the Dark Angels are trying to beat the crap out of the Fallen because it's kind of a stain on their chapter's honour, I suppose. So yeah, that's a bit on the Dark Angels. I actually read a few reviews of this because I accidentally heard that it wasn't a very good book. It got lambasted by quite a few reviewers, I think. But I thought I'd pick it up anyway because the Dark Angels are cool. So yeah, you got this interesting sort of background about the Dark Angels. They're not just, the honourable and loyal warriors. They've got sort of a little bit of darkness to them. They're trying to deal with that. And does this book actually perform then? Let's talk about the pros. The sort of principal storyline is that this is very much about the background of the Dark Angels, how they came into being, because, as the blurb says, it's the Emperor being reunited with Lionel Johnson, the Dark Angels Primarch. And surprisingly, I don't think that many of the Horus Heresy books start off that early. For example, Fear to Tread, which I just did a review of, is very much the Blood Angels are used to fighting battles and they know Sanguinius and they're sort of at home, Whereas this goes back to when the Dark Angels are effectively a knightly order, like the medieval knights, or the Black Templars, I suppose. So yeah, most Dark Angels fans will probably want to pick this up, but maybe they shouldn't. The pros of this book then. It starts off very slowly, but there is some decent action in there because they're fighting sort of monsters in the forests. It's pretty much fantasy at this point. And as I'll go on to discuss, part of the problem was it sort of starts off fantasy and goes into science fiction, which is a bit weird. But yeah, there was some okay action. The only problem with it was just okay. It was nothing to shout about. So I guess that's a pro. Another thing I liked was the main character, who is called Zahariel, which is a pretty cool name. He has good interactions with Nemiel, who I think is his cousin, if I remember correctly. Because Nemiel is sort of, he sort of has a bit of an influence on Zahariel, shall we say, without giving too much away. And Zahariel's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And yeah, you basically have their sort of interaction between them. They love each other and stuff, but at the same time, they sort of have differing opinions on things. So I liked that. There's a bit of good characterization. And on to the cons. Unfortunately, shut up, cat. The characterization and interactions weren't as good as with any other characters, really. It wasn't really memorable. Nemiel and Zahariel it was, but otherwise it was a bit lacking. None of it really has stuck in my mind. And the beginning itself, apart from the monsters bit, was really quite dull. Not much happened. And it's a real missed opportunity because it's sort of setting the scene for the Dark Angels. They could set up some, climactic events and battles, but it really didn't. Pretty much the first half of the book really was slow. Apart from those pros I mentioned, I had to trudge through it really. It wasn't great at all. And this wasn't helped by the sort of premise of the book, I guess, because it is quite hard to write the sort of shift from uh, from being without the Emperor to joining him, because they're effectively in like a fantasy world. Like I said, they were sort of knights, if anything, and suddenly all this 40k-ness comes in, so it's a shifting from fantasy to science fiction. And as it sounds, yeah, how do you do that? How do you make that flow smoothly? It's beyond me. I don't know. But it certainly didn't work in Descent of Angels. And because of the sort of lacking characterization, Kat, I know you don't like Descent of Angels either. The lacking characterization, it sort of meant the book could have done with more action or more imagery. In fact, the imagery, I don't remember any of the imagery. I honestly don't. That's such a shame because, yeah, that's the problem. If you don't have good characterization, the action at least needs to back it up. And although there were some okay monster battles, it really was sort of lacking in that department. It needed more action to compensate, I guess I'm saying. Either that or to do the characterization well and other areas well, such as the imagery, but it's lacking. I think I'm going to get onto the verdict because I'm probably going to repeat myself if I don't. It sort of lacked characterization apart from Nemiel and Zahariel. Oh, that's another thing. The one thing that annoyed me the most about this book was that towards the end, there seemed to be the tension was getting racked up, and the book was starting to get more exciting. But then the book ended, and you're just left with a feeling of frustration because the book was finally hotting up to. Well, hotting up, is that even a phrase? But it's setting itself up for some nice action and a nice set piece finale. But it failed, it ended. And it really leaves you with a negative feeling because you had to trudge through the sort of first half. Then it goes into the sort of 40k world, and you're kind of like, okay, that was a weird transition. And then the end is finally getting better, and it just stops. And as a result, I don't have that many positives to say about it. I actually quite like the cover, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for fans even because it was boring. It made the Dark Angels not interesting. Well, lacking. I don't know. They weren't very thrilling. So definitely thumbs down for Descent of Angels. It lacked imagery, characterization, and most things that make a book good. When the tension was finally getting good, it ended. So unfortunately, Descent of Angels gets thumbs down. Write in the comments if you think I'm completely wrong. We'll discuss it. But thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll get on to reviewing some better books.